The Golden State Warriors are standing at a crossroads. A dynasty that once felt unstoppable now feels fragile, caught between the past glory of championships and the uncertain reality of tomorrow. Stephen Curry, the heart and soul of this franchise, is 37 years old. Time, once their ally, has turned into their fiercest opponent. And now, a new rumor shakes the NBA world, a potential trade that could bring Memphis Grizzlies star Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Bay Area. This isn't just about swapping players. This is about legacy. It's about Curry's final chapter, about whether Golden State can squeeze one more championship run out of a core that once revolutionized basketball. And it's about risk, the kind of risk that either cements a dynasty or ends it with regret. So tonight we dive deep. Over the next 2 hours, we'll explore the Warriors' journey, the weight of Curry's timeline, the trade itself, and what it means for both Golden State and Memphis. We'll compare it to history's biggest NBA trades, we'll break down fan reactions, and we'll ask the biggest question of all: is this gamble worth it? The Warriors' journey, from dynasty to dilemma. To understand why this rumored trade matters so much, you have to rewind the clock. The Golden State Warriors of the mid-2010s weren't just champions, they were revolutionaries. Curry's three-point shooting changed the geometry of the game. Klay Thompson's two-way dominance and Draymond Green's versatility gave Golden State an unstoppable formula. Add Kevin Durant in 2016, and you had perhaps the most talented team in NBA history. From 2015 to 2019, the Warriors reached 5 straight finals and won 3 championships. They broke records, embarrassed opponents, and turned Oracle Arena into a fortress. But dynasties don't last forever. Injuries to Durant and Thompson derailed the 2019 finals. Durant left for Brooklyn. Klay missed 2 full seasons. Suddenly, Golden State went from unbeatable to vulnerable. The 2022 title run briefly reignited the fire. Curry, at age 34, carried the Warriors to their 4th ring of the era. But since then, the cracks have only widened. The 2023-24 season ended in disappointment. The 2024-25 campaign has been filled with inconsistency, roster questions, and a brutal Western Conference arms race. Now, the Warriors are stuck. Too good to blow it up completely, but not quite good enough to contend at the highest level. And with Curry in the twilight of his career, every season without progress feels like a wasted opportunity. That's why this rumored trade, Curry plus Jaren Jackson Jr., feels like more than just a headline. It feels like a decision that will define the Warriors' future. Why Jaren Jackson Jr. matters. For those who might not know Jaren Jackson Jr. beyond the highlight reels, let's break it down. Jackson, often called Triple J, is a unique two-way force. At 6 feet 11 inches, he combines length, mobility, and defensive instincts that few big men in the league can match. In 2023, he won Defensive Player of the Year. He can guard the rim, switch on to smaller players, and stretch the floor with his three-point shot. On paper, he is exactly what the Warriors need. Golden State has long relied on Draymond Green as their defensive anchor, but Draymond is now in his mid-30s. Adding Jackson would give them a younger, longer, more athletic defensive presence while also maintaining floor spacing on offense. Imagine Curry running a high pick-and-roll with Jackson. Imagine defenses trying to choose between guarding Curry 35 feet from the hoop or contesting Jackson's roll to the basket. That's the kind of nightmare matchup that could change Golden State's season, maybe even their destiny. But here's the catch. To get Jackson, the Warriors would have to give up a massive trade package, young players, future draft picks, maybe even a core piece. This isn't a win-win deal without pain. Golden State would be sacrificing part of their future for the chance to maximize Curry's present. And that brings us to the heart of this story, the balance between tomorrow and today. Stephen Curry is still brilliant. His shooting touch remains magical, his conditioning elite, his leadership unmatched. But even the greatest shooters can't beat Father Time forever. At 37, Curry's window to lead another title run is closing fast. Every season now is a countdown. Every playoff loss is a reminder that opportunities are slipping away. Warriors management knows it. Curry knows it. The fans know it. That's why bold moves are on the table. That's why a trade for Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't just possible, it feels necessary. Because if Golden State waits too long, Curry could end his career in frustration, watching other teams raise banners while he's stuck in the middle of the standings. And that, more than anything, would be a tragedy for one of the greatest players to ever step on a basketball court. So here we are, a dynasty at a crossroads, a superstar on borrowed time, and a trade rumor that could reshape the NBA. In the next part of our discussion, we'll dig into the details of this potential deal. What exactly would Golden State have to give up? How would Memphis benefit? And is this a trade that actually makes sense for both sides? When you hear a rumor about Jaren Jackson Jr. potentially heading to Golden State, your first reaction might be excitement. Warriors fans picture Curry feeding lobs to Jackson, imagine the floor spacing with Jackson at the 5, and see visions of banners rising again in Chase Center. But as any NBA fan knows, blockbuster trades don't come cheap. So, what exactly would this deal look like? The Warriors' possible package. To acquire a player like Jaren Jackson Jr., Golden State would almost certainly have to part with Jonathan Kuminga, their most promising young forward, a player who's shown flashes of being an elite two-way star. Moses Moody or Brandon Podziemski, young guards who bring shooting and energy off the bench. Future draft picks, at least 2 or 3 first-rounders, possibly unprotected. That's a lot. And the painful part? Kuminga. For Warriors fans, he represents the bridge between eras, the player who could one day take the torch from Curry. Trading him would be the ultimate sign that Golden State is going all in on the present Memphis perspective. Now let's flip it. Why would the Grizzlies even consider trading Jaren Jackson Jr., their franchise cornerstone and defensive anchor? The answer is complicated. Memphis has been battling injuries, inconsistency, and the weight of expectations. Ja Morant remains their superstar, but the Grizzlies' window is messy. Trading Jackson would be painful, but if the return is a package of young talent like Kuminga plus multiple picks, Memphis could reset their roster around Morant while stocking the cupboard for the future. It's the classic NBA dilemma. Do you hold on to your star and hope for a turnaround, or do you sell high and start building again? The risk factor, all in or all out. For Golden State, this trade would scream urgency. It says, we're not waiting. We're not hedging. We're going all in on Steph Curry's final years. But let's be honest. There's risk everywhere. Injury risk. Jackson has a history of missing games. If he joins Golden State and can't stay healthy, the gamble backfires. Chemistry risk. The Warriors' dynasty was built on trust, continuity, and culture. Bringing in a new star changes the equation. Future risk. Trading Kuminga and picks means when Curry retires, the Warriors could be left with an empty cupboard. And yet, that's what makes it fascinating. Because in sports, greatness often requires risk. The Warriors didn't become legends by playing it safe. They changed the game by taking bold shots, both on and off the court. If Memphis goes through with this deal, the immediate takeaway is flexibility. Imagine a Grizzlies lineup with Ja Morant pushing the pace, Jonathan Kuminga flying in transition, and young shooters spacing the floor. Add multiple first-round picks, and suddenly Memphis has options. They can retool quickly or go into a longer rebuild. And let's not forget, Memphis has never been a prime free agent destination. For them, trades and the draft are everything. If they believe Jackson isn't enough to elevate them past Denver, Minnesota, or Oklahoma City in the West, then cashing out now could be a smart play. In other words, what's desperation for Golden State could be strategy for Memphis. Historical comparisons, when stars change teams. This isn't the first time an NBA team has faced this kind of fork in the road. History is filled with examples of franchises taking massive swings. Some paid off. Some didn't. In 2007, the Boston Celtics traded for Kevin Garnett. They gave up young assets and picks, but the move immediately delivered a championship. No regrets. In 2019, the Lakers traded for Anthony Davis. They gutted their young core, but it brought LeBron his fourth ring and cemented AD as a franchise piece. Worth it. But on the flip side, look at the Brooklyn Nets' 2013 trade for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. They gave up years of future picks, hoping to win now, and it ended in disaster. Even the Cleveland Cavaliers' moves around LeBron show the danger of short-term thinking. When he left in 2010, they had nothing left. The Warriors are standing at the same cliff. Do they risk it all for one more title run, or do they protect the future at the cost of the present? Fan reactions, the split opinion. If you scroll through Twitter or Reddit right now, Warriors fans are split in half. Some say, do it. Don't waste Curry's last years. We'll worry about the future later. Others argue, no way. Kuminga is our future. Don't mortgage the next decade just to chase a dream. And here's the truth, both sides are right. That's what makes this trade rumor so compelling. There is no clear win. It's about what Golden State values more, legacy or longevity. So far, we've looked at the trade from both sides, the risks, and the historical parallels. But the real heart of the matter goes deeper. What does this trade mean for Stephen Curry himself? How does it affect his legacy, his final years, and the story of the Warriors dynasty? We'll focus on Curry, his timeline, his impact, and why Golden State may be willing to risk everything to give him one last shot at greatness. The Golden State Warriors are one of the most iconic franchises in modern basketball. Over the past decade, they've been at the heart of the NBA revolution, changing the way the game is played with their pace, spacing, and three-point shooting. At the center of it all has been Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, whose influence has reshaped not only the Warriors but basketball globally. But dynasties don't last forever. The 2024-2025 season reminded us of that truth. The Warriors were no longer the invincible juggernaut they once were. They fought, they competed, and they showed flashes of brilliance, but inconsistency, aging stars, and roster issues kept them from returning to the NBA's mountaintop. Now, as we move into the 2025-2026 season, Golden State is in a fascinating position. They've added veteran star Jimmy Butler, giving them another proven winner alongside Curry. They still have core pieces like Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, and Brandon Podziemski. But they've also failed to sign any additional big names in free agency, leaving fans and analysts questioning whether the roster is enough to compete with rising Western Conference powers like the Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Minnesota Timberwolves. Over the next 3 hours, we'll break everything down. We'll revisit the 2024-2025 season, analyze the current roster and its strengths and weaknesses, hear from the front office and what management is saying, and examine the pundits' reactions from big names like Stephen A. Smith and Shams Charania. And finally, we'll project what the 2025-2026 season could look like: best case, worst case, and everything in between. The Warriors' 2024-2025 season was defined by ups and downs. They finished the year in the middle of the Western Conference, with a record just above .500. Offensively, they were still a top-half team, averaging around 115 points per game, but defensively they slipped badly, ranking in the bottom third of the league. Stephen Curry remained the heartbeat, averaging 26 points per game on 46/41/91 shooting splits. Even at 36 years old, he was still elite, but his heavy usage made it clear the team lacked secondary scoring. Jonathan Kuminga took a leap forward, averaging 16 points and 6 rebounds, showing improved shooting and defense. His development was one of the few bright spots. Brandon Podziemski emerged as a scrappy playmaker, averaging 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists, often making winning plays. Draymond Green continued to lead emotionally and as a playmaker, but his scoring dipped below 8 points per game and injuries reduced his availability. The Warriors lacked depth. Their bench rotations were inconsistent, forcing Curry to play heavy minutes. Defensively, they struggled against younger, faster teams like OKC and Sacramento. In the playoffs, Golden State couldn't mount a serious run. Whether falling in the play-in tournament or bowing out early, the outcome was the same. Their dynasty days were clearly behind them. Key takeaways from 2024 to 2025. Curry is still great but needs help. Kuminga and Podziemski are real building blocks. Draymond and Klay are declining. Depth and defense remain glaring weaknesses. As we turn the page to the 2025 to 2026 season, the Warriors' roster looks different but still intriguing. Stephen Curry. At 37, Curry remains the Warriors' leader. Last season's averages show he hasn't slowed dramatically, but age is always a factor. The front office has stressed load management to preserve him for the postseason. Statistically, Curry is still one of the most efficient high-volume scorers in the NBA. Jimmy Butler. The biggest addition is Jimmy Butler, the six-time All-Star and two-time Finals participant. Butler brings toughness, leadership, and playoff experience. His averages of 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in Miami prove he can still perform. The key question: how will he fit next to Curry in Golden State's motion-heavy offense? Butler excels in isolation and mid-range scoring, areas the Warriors traditionally avoid. But his defense and mentality are exactly what the team needs. Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga is expected to take another leap. Coaches believe he can average close to 18 to 20 points per game this year. His athleticism and improving skill set make him a potential future All-Star. Brandon Podziemski. Podziemski's role will expand. He is projected to become the full-time secondary playmaker next to Curry, giving the team stability when Curry sits. His high basketball IQ makes him a cornerstone. Draymond Green. Draymond is no longer the same defender he once was, but his playmaking and leadership remain vital. He will likely average 6 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, but his true value lies in anchoring the defense and guiding younger players. The Warriors' bench remains a concern. They have role players, but no true sixth-man spark. The lack of a major free agent signing this offseason raised eyebrows. Management has said financial flexibility and luxury tax constraints limited their moves. Warriors management has made it clear they are committed to building around Curry until he retires. General Manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. has spoken about balancing short-term competitiveness with long-term sustainability. One key storyline: despite fans wanting another big signing, the Warriors have not added another star beyond Jimmy Butler. The reason? The luxury tax. Golden State already has one of the most expensive payrolls in the NBA. Ownership believes the current roster can compete, and they don't want to mortgage the future for a short-term gamble. The front office has also emphasized developing young talent like Kuminga and Podziemski. They see these players as the bridge to the post-Curry era. The media has had plenty to say about the Warriors. Stephen A. Smith argued that the Warriors are clinging to the past, but admitted that adding Jimmy Butler makes them dangerous in the playoffs. If you've got Curry and Butler healthy, you've got a chance. But can they survive the grind of the West? That's the real question. Shams Charania has reported that the Warriors have explored trade options but haven't found the right deal. He noted that financial flexibility is a big challenge. Other analysts have said the Warriors could be anywhere from a top 4 seed to out of the playoffs, depending on health and chemistry. The consensus: Golden State is no longer a guaranteed contender, but no one is counting them out as long as Curry is still playing at a high level. So what should fans expect? Best case scenario: Curry stays healthy, Butler fits seamlessly, Kuminga takes a leap, and the Warriors contend for the Western Conference Finals. Worst case scenario: injuries pile up, Butler struggles to fit, and the Warriors fall into the play-in again. Most likely, Golden State hovers around the 5th to 7th seed in the West, competitive but not dominant. Key matchups will be crucial. The Nuggets remain the team to beat, the Thunder are rising fast, and the Lakers with LeBron and AD still pose a threat. For Curry, this season represents perhaps the last real chance at another title run. The Warriors know the window is closing, and that urgency will define the year. 2026 season will answer one major question: Is the Warriors' dynasty truly over, or do they have one more run left? With Curry still elite, Butler bringing toughness, and young players like Kuminga and Podziemski ready to grow, there is hope. But the lack of a big news signing and the decline of veterans like Draymond and Clay raise doubts. For fans, this year is about embracing the journey. It's about celebrating Curry while he's still here, watching the young core develop, and seeing whether Butler can bring his Jimmy Buckets mentality to the Bay. One thing is certain, love them or doubt them, the Golden State Warriors remain one of the most fascinating teams in basketball. Welcome to Dub's Nation Voice. As training camp approaches, the Golden State front office stands pat, but behind the scenes, a flurry of trade possibilities simmers. From a savvy veteran big man to high upside guards and even a pipe dream level MVP, this segment breaks down what trades might happen and what's simply wishful thinking. We'll explore Al Horford and the veteran depth boost, Josh Giddey and a potential sign-and-trade pathway, the fantasy but speculative target, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the hurdles standing in the way, what pundits and reporters are saying. Let's dive in. Al Horford, the veteran upgrade. Rumor rundown. Al Horford, 39, unrestricted free agent after a solid stint with Boston. Warriors are the frontrunners for his services. He's praised for his shooting, floor spacing, rebounding, veteran leadership, and playoff know-how. A traditional fit for playoffs. Stephen Curry himself subtly hinted at Horford's arrival, dropping praise during a public appearance. Strategic fit. Horford brings size and shooting to a thin frontcourt. He can guard multiple positions and enable younger wings like Kuminga more freedom. CBA cap implications. Warriors likely to use the taxpayer mid-level exception, around $5.7 million. Jonathan Kuminga's unresolved RFA situation is holding everything up. The team can't fully move forward until that clears. Bottom line, Horford is the most realistic trade/tweak the Warriors could make right now, veteran savvy, spacing, and a bridge to youth. Josh Giddey, the high-upside playmaker. Rumor rundown. The Warriors are exploring a sign-and-trade involving Josh Giddey, sending Kuminga to Chicago. Reports suggest Bulls aren't keen on a sign-and-trade, making logistics messy. Public forums even call the rumor fake news, reflecting how speculative it feels to many. Strategic fit. Giddey offers size, playmaking, and secondary ball handling. Pairing him with Curry could create an exciting backcourt. A Curry off-ball scenario that would diversify offense. The hurdles. Chicago's reluctance is a major roadblock. Including Buddy Hield or Moses Moody might solve salary matching, but Warriors may be unwilling to part with either. A Giddey deal is ambitious and intriguing, but far from likely this early in the season. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the unicorn trade. Rumor rundown. Warriors have deliberately held on to assets, waiting for even a slight chance of Giannis becoming available. But recent reporting shows the Bucks have made no moves to trade Giannis, dismissing inquiries. Why it makes sense in theory. Pairing Giannis' interior dominance with Curry's shooting would be mind-blowing. Takings like Kuminga, Podziemski, and future picks would be valuable assets for Milwaukee. The reality check. Bucks have no intention of doing it at the moment. Giannis still under contract, with no trade demand. It's a fantasy scenario more than a next-week possibility. Jonathan Kuminga's story with the Golden State Warriors has now reached a boiling point. From a promising draft pick to a key young piece on a dynasty roster, Kuminga has always been caught between two realities: the future star he believes he can be, and the limited role he has been asked to play. Now, as negotiations drag on, the question isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about power, opportunity, and identity. Will Kuminga finally take control of his destiny, or will the Warriors front office force him into a corner? This is not just a contract saga, it's a battle for respect, relevance, and the future of a franchise that has defined the NBA for the last decade. Born in Goma, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Jonathan Kuminga's journey to the NBA is nothing short of extraordinary. From a young age, his size and athleticism drew attention. But unlike many of his peers, Kuminga had to leave home and travel across continents in pursuit of his basketball dream. He arrived in the United States as a teenager, raw but filled with potential, enrolling at the Patrick School in New Jersey, a program known for producing NBA talent. Scouts were immediately intrigued. His physical gifts, strength, leaping ability, quickness, were undeniable. Yet there were questions. Could he develop the skills? Could he adapt to the structure of high-level American basketball? Instead of going to college, Kuminga made a bold move, joining the NBA G League Ignite program. This decision, at the time, was risky. He bet on himself, believing that training against professionals would prepare him faster than NCAA competition. And for the most part, it worked. Scouts saw flashes of brilliance, step-back jumpers, highlight dunks, defensive versatility. By the time of the 2021 NBA draft, he was seen as one of the highest upside prospects available. The Warriors, with the 7th overall pick, saw the opportunity. They were a team stuck in transition. Steph Curry was still at the height of his powers, but Klay Thompson was recovering from back-to-back major injuries, and the roster desperately needed youth. Drafting Kuminga was not just about the present, it was about building a bridge into the future. Early years in Golden State. Kuminga's rookie season was full of ups and downs. On some nights, he barely played. On others, he exploded off the bench, showing flashes that reminded fans of a young Kawhi Leonard or Jaylen Brown. His ability to guard multiple positions, run the floor, and finish above the rim made him a fan favorite almost immediately. By his second year, however, frustration started to grow. While Kuminga improved statistically, averaging more points and playing with greater confidence, his role under Steve Kerr remained inconsistent. Kerr, known for relying on veterans, often turned to players like Andrew Wiggins, Kevin Looney, and Draymond Green in crucial moments, leaving Kuminga on the sidelines. This was especially clear in the playoffs, where his minutes often disappeared despite regular season growth. To many observers, Kuminga represented the classic dilemma for the Warriors. Should they commit fully to their veteran core, or should they invest in their young stars like Kuminga, James Wiseman, and Moses Moody? The contract saga unfolds. Fast forward to the summer of 2025. Kuminga is now a restricted free agent, and the standoff has begun. The Warriors have put a 2-year, $45 million offer on the table. On paper, it looks generous. But the fine print matters. The second year comes with a team option. To Kuminga and his agent, Aaron Turner, this is unacceptable. They want a player option, which gives Kuminga control. Control is everything here. If the team holds the option, Kuminga risks being stuck in the same frustrating role for another year, unable to explore opportunities elsewhere. If he has the player option, he can reassess his future, look for better fits, and potentially command a bigger contract. The qualifying offer complicates everything. Worth $7.9 million for one season, it allows Kuminga to hit unrestricted free agency the following summer. But it's a dangerous gamble. If he gets injured, or if his role continues to shrink, his market value could plummet. Still, the Warriors fear this option more than Kuminga does. If he signs it, they lose trade flexibility and risk watching him leave for nothing in 2026. This tug-of-war over options and leverage is not just financial. It reflects the deeper mistrust between the two sides. Kuminga feels undervalued. The Warriors fear overcommitting to a player they haven't fully trusted. The Jimmy Butler factor. This offseason, the Warriors made another bold move, trading for Jimmy Butler. On paper, Butler gives them another battle-tested veteran to chase one more championship with Curry and Draymond. But for Kuminga, Butler's arrival might be the final straw. Where does he fit now? If Butler plays big minutes at forward, Kuminga's path to a starting role becomes even narrower. Fans and analysts see the writing on the wall. Some argue that the Warriors don't really see Kuminga as part of their long-term future, and that he's more valuable as a trade asset. Others believe Golden State risks repeating the mistakes of the past, choosing short-term security over developing the next generation. Trade rumors and interest around the league. Reports indicate that teams like the Sacramento Kings and Phoenix Suns have already shown serious interest in Kuminga. Both franchises envision him as their power forward of the future, offering him not just money but a clear role. Unlike Golden State, they would hand him the keys to grow without fear of being benched behind veterans. The problem? Any deal requires the Warriors' approval. A sign-and-trade could work, but Golden State has been reluctant. After all, they know how talented Kuminga is, and losing him for the wrong package could haunt them. Yet, the clock is ticking, and every day without resolution increases the tension. Lessons from the past. The specter of Nerlens Noel looms over this saga. In 2017, Noel turned down a $70 million offer from Dallas, betting on himself with a $4.1 million qualifying offer. That gamble backfired spectacularly after injuries and inconsistent play, and Noel never regained the same earning power. Kuminga's camp knows the risks, but they argue his situation is different. He's younger, healthier, and more productive than Noel was at that stage. He's also in a league that increasingly values athletic forwards who can guard multiple positions. The financial gap he risks is smaller, and he's confident he can earn far more long-term. The bigger picture. This saga isn't just about one player. It's a snapshot of the modern NBA. More than ever, young players are asserting control over their futures. Team options, once standard, are now points of contention. The power dynamic has shifted. For the Warriors, this is also about identity. They built a dynasty on loyalty and continuity, but can they afford to alienate their best young talent? If they cling too tightly to the past, they risk compromising the future. If they bet too heavily on improving youth, they risk wasting the twilight years of Curry's career. So where does this leave Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors? With training camp just weeks away, the standoff feels unsustainable. Either the Warriors cave and give him a player option, or Kuminga takes the qualifying offer and sets up a season of constant drama. The nightmare for Golden State would be losing him for nothing while watching him blossom elsewhere. For Kuminga, the decision is about belief. Does he trust himself enough to gamble on the qualifying offer?